Hello, everyone, and welcome into Demystifying Divinity with Joanna and Jenny. Joanna and I have just had a fabulous conversation before getting onto this podcast, and we're just giggling and we're crying and we're goosebumped. And how are you feeling, Joanna? Am I accurately stating the state of the world right now for you?
Let me tell you how I'm feeling.
Okay.
Really? How am I feeling right now? It's hard to tell because I'm feeling everything all at once.
Yes. Yes.
And it's bloody overwhelming.
Yes. Thank you. I know I'm crying. I'm in between crying, laughing, and crying. And you might be thinking we're crazy, and go for it. I wouldn't argue with you because the astrology of 2025. I know I keep saying it. I know, Joanna, and to our listeners out there, I keep saying it. The astrology of 2025 is no joke. 2025 equals 9. 9 in numerology means endings. No, I am not saying it's the end of the world. I'm saying it's the end of the world as we knew it. Okay. So, I keep saying this, it's funny / scary / funny because it's the truth. And so we're talking about all the things in this podcast episode. I didn't tell Joanna what I'm going to talk about, but again, like I say, we had a really great chit chat before joining and pressing record today, and we're in it. We are in it. It's June, so we're halfway through the year of 2025. And so we've got 2 of the 4 outer planets have already moved into new signs. So we had Neptune moving into Aries end of March. We had Saturn moving into Aries end of May. And then upcoming, we've got Jupiter moving into Cancer June 9. And we've got Uranus moving into Gemini July 7. And so 2 of the 4 have already moved, and we're feeling it. We're in it already. It's going to happen any minute now, Jupiter into Cancer. And the energies are all around us. And I have to say, I really wanted to feel in to what these outer planets moving into Aries felt like, because I'm a strong Aries woman. And I have to say, it's a lot of what I predicted. What I predicted was, we've been getting trained by the universe, by the planets, by our spirit guides, whoever you feel resonates with you. We've been getting trained for this time. And so we were receiving all of the downloads, and we were understanding that we needed to change, and we were studying the spiritual things or learning the new things, right? And now we need to do something about it. Okay. So now we need to do the things. Now we need to say the things, and we need to make some decisions. So it's kind of what I predicted, but I'm actually in it now, and I'm feeling it strongly. Joanna, would you agree with my assessment, predictions, and my feelings on the whole darn thing? What are you feeling about it?
100%. And as you were talking, I wrote some things down. And so first and foremost, they said, we have been preparing for this for lifetime. Lifetime. Priority number 1. Ready?
Okay.
Oh God.
I'm shivering. Even I'm hot.
Radical self-honesty.
Okay.
The second one, critical. Being in the body, which means to feel.
Embodiment. And that's what I was we were having a chat actually last night about the divine feminine. Joanna and I were, and that's what I feel the divine feminine's really teaching us right now, is to embody it. So don't just put it out there. Don't just barf out all your emotions. Don't just barf out, oh, this was my narcissistic ex-boyfriend. You see it all over, all online everywhere. This is my thing and this happened to me. Or else you see the sexy, sultry stuff on Instagram. Oh, I'm doing my dancing, or whatever it is you see, right? It's just putting something out there, right? Whatever it is, if you're saying the thing or doing something sexy, you're just putting it out there. But the divine feminine is demanding we embody. What are you going to do with that? How are you going to embody an energy and then become it?
They said this is the time when the rubber meets the road.
Integration. Integrate it. Embody it.
Feel it. And what I was getting is that, and I think I've heard Matthias de Stefano say this, but what I heard was, in order for for us to move into the quote unquote 5D, we have to be more comfortable being in the body, because the quote unquote 5D is all about feeling, intuition, heart, emotion, being present. And most humans, including myself, very frequently, certainly in the past, we live in our head. Yes. That's no longer going to be enough. In fact, what they're saying, and Jenny and I were talking about this, they said to me a couple of years ago, and I've mentioned this, they said, Joanna, keep doing what you're doing, because in a very short time, people are going to need people like you, because many people are going to think they're going crazy. Yes. Why? Because things are no longer fitting in their little boxes. Yeah. The boxes are going... The boxes or the structures are, quote unquote, falling apart. In order for us to experience a greater experience, we have to get out of the boxes that we have put ourselves in, or society put us in, right? But we are standing at a critical choice point. And I'm going to say the phrase that's very well known to everybody: either shit or get off the box.
The pot. I love it. That's such a good one.
No
This
more.
Uranus going into Gemini in July 7th. You know, if you're feeling crazy already, which, you know, we all are, if you're feeling crazy, this Uranus going into Gemini for July 7th, I predicted it and I'm feeling it, like mental health crisis. If you are not willing to take the radical responsibility and embody and integrate the way that Joanna is talking about, you could be hurting. You can be hurting.
Yeah. Because the mind is trying to understand what's going on, but we are moving beyond trying to logically understand and analyze. We are moving into embodiment. And the whole idea of experiencing Christ consciousness, it's not just knowing it, it's not just talking about it, it's about embodying it. It's about it being us, being it, not just talking about it, not just understanding about it, less than the boxes. It's actually being it. And what is Christ consciousness? Fucking unconditional self-love. And F-bomb. I dropped the F-bomb, sorry. And self-acceptance and forgiveness.
I feel that. I'm crying again. I feel like I've come into knowing with these Neptune into Aries and Saturn going into Aries, what I've really come to know deeply without even thinking about it, but to know it is we are precious, innocent souls. And I know all the leaders and all the gurus and all the spiritual leaders before us were always saying that, but no, I'm embodying that. We are precious. We are precious, sovereign souls. We really are.
To embody our power, we have to embody it. We have to bring it into our bodies. We have to feel. And feeling is not comfortable, because feeling asks you to face your shit.
We all
Famous words for Carl Jung. Thank you very much, Carl. Thank you. It's facing the shadow. And I'm going to share something I've shared on my other videos. We tend to fear shadow. We tend to, shadow is bad. Absolutely not. Shadow gives us depth and dimension in our experience. It gives us depth and dimension. Without our shadow, our life would be flat. If you're eating ice cream, vanilla ice cream all the time, it's good, but you got sick and tired of it. You want some variation, right? Now, the opposite of that is living in our shadows. That's very different, because shadows are, for the most part, fear-based. So when we are ruled by our shadows, which many people are without actually even knowing it, because it's deeply unconscious, and planet Earth is very much fear-based planet. There's love, but there's fear-based. When we live according to our shadows, we are constantly living in fear, and we are perpetuating that over and over and over again. And the only way to move out of living in fear, we have to face our fear. Here's the thing. In my experience, including my own, I used to think that facing your fear means something bad is going to happen. I have to face it. No, that's not what it means. It means face the fear inside of you so that you don't have to experience it. Does that make sense? So it's not necessarily that we're saying face your shadow, meaning, oh my God, something bad is going to happen. No. Let's not wait until something happens. Face it from within you, what is inside of you. And they're showing you basically what does it mean to face your shadow is to look in the mirror, right? Metaphor, to look in the mirror. To really have a good look at yourself and ask yourself, what is deep within me that wants to emerge, but I am not allowing it? Mm-hmm. And we all have our reasons for it. Some of these reasons are very good reasons. But you're talking about, us being powerful beings and these divine beings, which I believe, it's not that I believe, I know that we are. In order for us to experience that divinity, we have to be present with our divinity within our mind, which means we have to face the shit that tells us we are not that.
And so how did we get to that shit pile in the first place, Joanna? Might I ask, is it because we are empathic souls? We're listening to this podcast for empath, and we absorbed way too much shit. So then we started piling the shit.
Yeah.
Right?
It's lifetimes and lifetimes of conditioning. Yeah.
Yes. For some people, like myself included, a lot of people-pleasing, disease-to-please bullshit I had piled up for many years. Us empathic souls often do this, right? We just people-please and we tippy-toe so that we don't cause any problems. But then we end up creating this war within ourselves. And I think that, the first point you brought up in this podcast was taking the radical responsibility. So for someone that has the disease to please, as did I for so long, I had the disease to please.
Yeah.
It's that radical responsibility of, I co-created this experience and it's actually for my highest good. If I can embrace that it's here, if I can see this shadow for what it is and understand, take full responsibility, and that's when you can start doing the shadow work. It's not blaming and, like I was saying earlier, like, oh, my ex-boyfriend is a narcissist and I'm going to tell you all these narcissistic things that I've learned. All you're doing is throwing something out there. You're not coming back to yourself.
You're integrating it.
You're not integrating it. That's what the divine feminine is asking us to do, is to integrate and to embody. And we are not trained to do this. Not in our schools, not in our churches, not in our families, not anywhere. So, we are here to learn what does divine feminine energy mean, because these 4 outer planets moving into different signs in 2025 is divine feminine energy on steroids. The planet are our spirit team. They are part of our team, offering us strong urgings to change. Would you agree with that, John?
100%. 100%. So let's talk about this idea of pleasing, because I, first and foremost, Jenny and I are not saying for you not to be a nice person. Of course, if it pleases you to have to please somebody else, by all means do it. However, 9 times out of 10, the reasons why we overplease is because we are afraid of losing love or connection. Which means at some point in our evolution, something happened when someone withdrew love, affection, we experienced abandonment, and we realized, oh shit, in order for me not to have that experience, I have to do all these things, because when I do that, that's me controlling my own environment.
And I will get exiled from the group. I just did a preacher sermon on my Instagram page about this. Like, where does shame come from anyways? Yeah. Why are we living in shame?
We have to be able to, not able, thank you. We have to be willing to look at the core wound. So I'm going to share with you guys something that's very personal, and I'm being very transparent here in the hopes that it gives you permission. You don't need my permission, but you give yourself permission to look at your stuff. I was born into an environment where I felt I would not be loved unless I met all these conditions. And the message that I received from the day I could remember is that I could never be enough. Why can't you be like this? Why can't you be like this? Why can't you? So the message I got very early on is that who I was not enough. What I also learned at a very young age, that in order for me to stay safe, I needed to learn how to manage my people's emotions. Because I observed that when they were not happy with me, they would withdraw. So in order for me to make sure that they were happy so that they wouldn't withdraw, because when a child feels no love, it's like a fucking death experience. I learned to control myself in such a way as to make sure that the other person wouldn't feel upset or angry or whatever it is. And I'd gotten so good at it that it just became instinctual. I'm 55 years old right now, and I'm still dealing with this. However, right now, that shit is coming out. And here's the thing. I can't even control it anymore. It's beyond my control. It's like my soul says, Joanna, drop. That's it.
Joanna, you've always been a shapeshifter, but now you're using that superpower of shapeshifting in a new way, in a way that serves us all. And we love it. And I'm doing the same with my former disease to please, because I had that disease.
So here's the thing. The ego goes, well, if I don't please, somebody else is going to get upset. And the message to me is, if they're upset, that's almost like death to me, because it means abandonment. It means emotional withdrawal. And more than anything, it means loss of being loved and accepted.
Yes.
So I have learned how to disown myself in order to be accepted by somebody else. And here's the thing. I'm the one that suffers. And many of you, I'm sure, because I'm sure we're speaking to the converted here.
Yes.
So that is not to say that we should not stay being nice people. By all means, don't be an asshole. This is not saying turn out. No, that's a whole different conversation. It's about, if you do have a tendency to please, ask the question and be real with yourself. Why do I feel such high need to please? Is it because I love the experience of someone being happy? Yes. Or is there also an underlying fear that if you don't, you will be rejected, you will be accepted, and you will lose love? That's what you have to face. That's the core wound.
And it runs deep. Lifetime after lifetime after lifetime.
Listen, we're born into the world where most humans are connected to some sort of religion. And in many religions, God's love is fucking conditional. If I eat meat on Fridays, I'm going to go to hell. What the fuck? Pardon my friend.
Joanna.
Sorry, guys.
I love it when Joanna starts getting all these tangents.
If this offends you, this is me. Kind of a month of a trucker sometimes.
I am here for a Joanna tangent.
It serves as an oath. So I try to limit it because I know it's not very ladylike, but sometimes it's like 4 minutes.
Oh, ladylike. Love that.
Ladylike. Yeah. And that whole thing of being ladylike, that's, I have to be ladylike in order to be accepted. It's this is the fullness of me. Sometimes I swear, and it brings me this oomph of energy that it's like an exclamation mark at the end of a sentence. Should I apologize for it? Not really. I don't want to.
Don't you ever.
I'm not asking you to accept it. By all means, if it offends you, of course, then I'm not for you. That's totally okay.
Right. Yeah. Agreed.
I can mold myself to suit you so that you don't get upset, so you don't reject me. Or I can say, you know what? This is me. I am not for everybody. God knows I'm not for everybody.
I have been shape-shifting my whole life too. And I love that you shared such beautiful personable stories that we can all come to. I've been shape-shifting as well, but I'm now using that shape-shifting for good. And I know that you are as well. That's what the cosmos are urging us to take an honest look at. So like to end this podcast, I would love to talk maybe, is it called spiritual hygiene? Because if you're listening, if you've made it this far on the podcast, you're resonating at some level, whether it's the disease to please or whatever it is for you. That's
Anything that's fear-based.
yes, anything that's fear-based. You're resonating with the message. Spiritual hygiene, I guess that's a fancy term for it, but it's like, look, we're empaths, okay? We absorb stuff, okay? So, Joanna, what's some good advice for us hardcore empaths during these extremely changing times, demanding us to change and to look at our shadows? On the other side of it, I can promise that it's going to be a totally new era, totally new world, a heaven on earth, whatever you want to call it. But to get there, Joanna, again, what are the spiritual hygiene tips for the listeners out there? Because we're all a bunch of empaths here. Let's be honest.
So before I go there, I'm just going to speak purely from my experience and what I'm getting. They're asking you, Jenny, to define for those who don't understand what it means, what you mean by shapeshifter.
Shapeshifting.
Yeah, let's talk about it. What does that mean?
I was a shapeshifter, as was Joanna. Like, oh, yes, I'm feeling all this energy from family, from church, from friends. And so I became who they wanted me to become, right? I shapeshifted into knowing I'll be liked this way. You know, and yeah, dare I say it? Dare I say it? I was popular in high school.
I was the opposite.
You were not.
No.
Okay.
The opposite.
I mean, I certainly wasn't, the coolest crowd, but yeah, I had a lot of friends, right? And I thought that that was important, to have a lot of friends. Fast forward to this day and age, I have like hardly any friends. And I'm so proud of myself to get to this point. Like I can proudly say I barely have friends.
You have real friends.
I have real soul sisters. I have real soul sisters because I'm no longer shape-shifting into, okay, I know that this group wants me to be like this. Okay, I know that my community, the church, whatever, I've left the church for one. So like that really helped.
And by the way, guys, we're not asking you to leave your church.
If you love your church, stay in your church. Okay.
Absolutely. Just make sure that your church doesn't keep you in your fear box. That's all.
Right. And for me, leaving the church was definitely the right thing for me to do. And I was able to let go of a lot of that energy, right? And I let go of a lot of people that I called friends because I was shape-shifting into what they wanted me to be. And I knew that this is what they wanted me to say. I was so good at that. And then I realized, oh, that's what I'm becoming. I'm becoming what they want me to be. What about who I want me to be? What about the reason why I was born to be here? So I dare I say I'm doing my purpose now. It's taken me a hot minute to get here, and that's okay. And I swear to God, I read birth charts for women around my age, and we're all feeling it. It's like, oh yeah, we're all changing now. We're all finally stepping into our soul's purpose. So now I'm going to shape shift in to pleasing me.
Choosing you first.
Me.
Yeah. It's a big one.
Yeah. And then whatever comes out of my mouth, however I show up online, however I show up at the grocery store, in traffic, that's because I've shape-shifted to be me.
What you're talking about is radical self-acceptance. That's what they're talking about, right? You've shape-shifted, or many of us have shape-shifted according to how you explained it, in order to please another, so that we would fit, so that we would belong, so that we would feel accepted, so that we would feel loved. And oftentimes what we do in those moments is we let go of our own truth for the sake of belonging. Everyone wants to belong. But what happens then is we deny ourselves who we are, so we no longer belong within ourselves, and we suffer because of it. So what you've said at some point, consciously or otherwise, you said, I'm done with this bullshit. I'm going to choose me.
Yes.
And because I choose me, those who are aligned with who I am and what I represent will naturally gravitate towards me. And those who are not will naturally leave And that's okay.
It is, yeah.
And that's okay.
And it's
So
okay.
what you're talking about is you bring yourself back to your wholeness.
Back to me.
By realizing first and foremost, you don't need to become anything other than who you already are. And if that is not enough for somebody else, then what they want is their version of you rather than who you really are. So you have two choices.
So true.
You either say yes to you or you become the version they want you to be, which means you say no to yourself. And that's called self-abandonment. Ouch. I did that for I'm so good at it.
And did that. So I'm full body goosebumped, even though like I'm hot and sweaty in this room. But it's that truth, Joanna. Joanna just preached.
That's correct consciousness, right?
She
there.
channeled it, and it's so true. And I was so good at that. I was so good at just fitting in, and I am no longer doing that. Not because I'm like angry about it. I'm like, I saw what I was doing. I changed the behavior. I made the decision, and now I'm embodying me wherever I go. And I find it funny a lot of the times what I'm saying online or doing. It's like, oh boy, here it comes. Here's this crazy inner whatever I am. Call me whatever you want to call me.
Free spirit. You're a free spirit.
Whatever my title is, you know.
And here's the thing. Everyone wants that for themselves. Everyone wants to feel free. We all want it. I have never met a client who said, hey, Joanna, can you help me be more in my boxes? Duh.
Get me out of those boxes. Yeah.
Yeah. So radical self-love, radical self-acceptance. If you don't love you, if you don't accept you, and you're looking for self-acceptance from somewhere else, good luck with that one. Yeah. But we are at a reckoning point right now.
Yes, thank you.
Where the universe is saying, who will you choose? Will you choose you or will you choose somebody else? That doesn't mean that you get rid of people you love. It doesn't mean that. But unless you are being loved for who you are,
yes,
then are you really being loved?
Right.
Are you really being accepted? No, you're not. And if you don't accept yourself, you will always be looking for validation from outside. And that's like trying to catch a ghost, like herding ghosts. Go ahead. Can't do it. What you're doing is actually, thank you, they're saying, what you're doing in that moment is you're chasing your own shadows. Yeah. So Jenny and I are all about shadow work. I love working with shadows because to me, shadows represent tremendous opportunity for massive growth and embodiment of truth and power. So don't be afraid of looking at your shadows. But like they said, this is about self-honesty and embodiment, which means, yes, sit with your feelings. Oh,
feelings are for feeling. Feelings are for feeling. So
sit with your not wallow in it. Don't wallow in it. Just sit with your feelings and let it move through your body so that it's no longer inside of you, so that you give it opportunity to let that energy frequency move through you. It's called processing and integration.
Birthing it, right? Like that's what the divine feminine does. We burn, we embody, and we birth, and we rebirth.
The divine feminine is all about feelings. And how good are we being in our little boxes, right? Well, I'm just going to say in my safe little box.
I was fabulous at it.
And by the way, we're not saying that you should get rid of your intellect. You bloody need it. You need it. What you need is you need a balance of both, right? They're also saying to me, come back, please. This isn't about all of a sudden rebelling, because that's going in the other direction. It's not about going from one extreme to the other. It's about meeting somewhere in the middle. You know, when you're rebelling, you are rebelling not from a space of peace, but you're rebelling because you're trying to prove something. So that's, again, you're trying to prove something, just in a different way. Mm-hmm. Some people may go into rebellion first just to realize what am I trying to show? No. Right? Sometimes we need to rebel, right? But at the end of the day, rebelling in and of itself is not the goal, because that's still trying to prove something. Here's what I'm being asked to say. You don't owe anyone an explanation unless you choose to. You don't owe anyone love unless you choose to give love freely. You don't owe anybody to be the way they want you to be. What you owe to yourself is to be true to you. Take those 3 points and sit with it. And ask yourself
There's your spiritual hygiene right there.
that's gonna be enough for a little while for you to chew on.
That's a lot.
So Jenny and I were talking before we turned on the recording, and I said, I heard this quite a few times. People say, I just want to experience ego death. I'm like, Jesus, Lord Christ, my Almighty. Do you realize what you are asking for?
Yeah.
Do you Let me tell you what ego death is. It's obliteration of all that you know and clung to. So when you say, I just want ego death, please give me some. No problem. Be prepared.
The whole world as you knew it crumbling.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's what 2025, like we're circling back there.
Yeah.
The 9 number of death. I'm not saying the world's going to end, but I'm saying the world as you knew it is going to end. And we're talking all the things. Okay.
If you individually want a richer experience, it's not enough to just want it and wish it. Oh, I'm just going to wait until God is going to give me all the aids, or law of attraction is going to bring me a better experience. No, law of attraction is going to bring you what you are matching on the inside. If you're filled and riddled with fear, the universe can only match you on that, because even if it gives you something else, you're not going to accept it because it is not aligned with how you're vibrating with your truth. So it's time to look at our truths. Again, radical self-honesty. Are you doing things you know you don't want to, but you're doing it because, I'll just do it. I'll do it. Obligation, all that stuff. And of course, this is not to say that we should ditch our obligation. This is so much bigger than that. It's more nuanced than that. We're not saying ditch your obligations. But if you are, like we were saying earlier, if you are having the pleasing disease and you are over-pleasing and you all of a sudden sit with yourself, it's like, okay, heart, tell me, why do I feel the need to over-please? Listen to what your body tells you. One of the first things you're likely to feel is you don't feel safe inside of your own body. If you don't feel safe inside of your own body, you're going to be trying to reach for things to help you feel safe. There's nothing out there that can make you feel safe. Yes, things can absolutely help you feel safer, but that feeling comes from within you. And if you don't feel safe in your body, chances are at some point you felt rejected, you felt abandoned, you felt abused, emotionally, physically, other way. You've experienced some sort of trauma. Now, the thing about trauma is we know trauma as, being sexually abused, being molested. Those are obvious traumas. Another type of trauma is not receiving something that you needed. If you're a child, for example, and your mom or your parents was constantly withdrawing love from you as a form of punishment to make you stay in line. That's trauma. That's right. That's part of my thing. That's trauma. And I'm going to share this. I never do, but I'm being asked to just be transparent here. One of my parents, I won't go into which one, in order to punish me, to put me in, to control me, the parent made me feel completely invisible. Like they literally walked around pretending I didn't exist. And I remember a moment when I was thinking, can you just please hit me? It will be so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
Because in those moments when the person was looking not at me, but through me as if I wasn't even there, I wanted to die. I didn't want to be here. Don't feel bad for me. It's all part of my lesson.
Yes, it is.
But that is what I felt. I've often felt I would rather be beaten just to fucking get it over with so that we can move on. Because this other thing was endless. This constant not being seen. That's trauma. of trauma. So the
And then,
person wasn't doing anything physically, but it was a traumatic experience.
and then you reenact that in your future with your relationships with your boyfriends or with your best friends. They treat you like you're invisible, right? You're not even there.
So the silent treatment, right? The silent
Silent
treatment.
treatment.
Yeah. There's obviously many horrible things, but I personally feel that giving someone, especially a child, a silent treatment and making them feel like they don't exist, it's equivalent to death to the child. That's what I experienced.
Yes.
And I
And
know
that
they have
death rebirth you've experienced so many times in your life, as have I. It's like that death rebirth. And that's what we're all being called to do right now, is to get honest and to look back at what.
that we can heal that part of us.
Yes.
That part of us that wants to be
Those cycles.
clean. Yeah.
The cycles that are on repeat, right? And it's time to end them.
Yeah.
So
And
again,
just
the world as we knew it.
exactly. So I'm going to answer the question that you gave me because they're reminding me not to leave that. So one of the ways that I know how to practice spiritual hygiene, is that what you called it?
Yeah, that's a fancy term.
Yeah. How to practice spiritual hygiene is first recognize what is yours and what is not yours. And that may take some time to quote unquote figure out.
That was the big one for me.
Yeah.
That
That's
was
because when we're so used to taking on other people's stuff, we don't even realize we're doing it because it's instinctual and it's unconscious.
and you think you're being nice, right? Like I'm like nice and spirituality to me.
Yeah. I'm not even thinking, it's just so unconscious. You're not even thinking about it. It's just part of your thing.
I'm like, oh, I'm a nice person because I'm spiritual. No, nice and spirituality have nothing to do with each other, right? What's yours, that's your stuff.
Yeah.
What's mine is my stuff.
Yeah.
Owning that. That took me a long time. And that was like my biggest one. That's so interesting that that's your first point.
It's taken me 50 years. Please, I'm not saying it's going to take you 50 years. Hopefully what we're sharing here is so that you don't have to take that long.
Like, don't,
because
like,
I'm an experiment that I can then share my experiment with you so that you don't have to
me.
suffer as long. You know? And then when you have, so what basically, it's to become more conscious. The whole idea of 5D, 6D, Christ consciousness, that's all about being more conscious. So one of the first things, and I think that is the biggest one, and maybe we'll just leave it at that for people to chew on, because that in itself is a big piece to work with. It's to begin to recognize what is yours and what is not. So my thing has been most of my life, and it's not really coming out of the box, that I would do everything to make sure that I wouldn't make other people upset or make them feel uncomfortable. Because to me, that meant withdrawal of love, death, basically. That my inner self, so I was driven by that need. So realizing what is yours and what isn't, which first and foremost, in order for you to recognize what's not yours and what is yours, is you have to know your shadows. You have to know your shadows. Knowing your shadows doesn't mean you wallow in your shadows. Knowing your shadows means you know your shadow, and for the most part, when you know your shadow, your shadow no longer has control of you nearly as much. You still want your shadow. It's all good. There's nothing wrong with that. It gives you depth and it gives you, dimension. But if you live based on your shadow, you live deep in fear. And as long as you live in fear, which is embodied, that's the opposite of correct consciousness. Because on the opposite side of love is fear. Right? The more fear we are, the less we are in that higher love frequency. Right? So notice what's yours and what isn't. The second one, I'm going to go. Learn to love and accept yourself. That's a hard one. Well, how can I love myself when I'm not this? Okay, you're not this right now. Maybe you never will be. Accept that. However, know that you have free will and there is always things that you can do to change. Some things you can change, some things you can't. If you're born 5 feet tall, you're probably not going to be 6 feet tall. So obsessing about the fact that you are not 6 feet tall is a waste of your energy. Waste. Okay? If you're not happy with your weight, because that's what's coming, there's something you can do about it. Right? But hating yourself because of the way you look That's equivalent to basically punching in the face yourself over and over again. What you're doing is you are creating your own pain. You are creating your own pain. Why on earth would you want to create more pain for you? It makes no fucking sense. Sorry.
It's a Joanna tangent.
Or And the reason why it's coming so strongly because I used to abhor my body. I used to hit myself physically in my stomach because I used to hate myself.
Whoa.
And it was all part of the conditioning.
Yes.
Right?
That is deep programming.
When that happens, naturally, I'm not going to be in my body because I fucking hate my body. I'm not going to be in my body. So I go to my head.
Yeah.
And right now, what they said at the very beginning, embodiment is the key.
Right. Let's get back.
So now I have to go into my body. It's like okay, let me feel all of that. What you feel about yourself doesn't make it true. It's just an experience that you are having. You are nothing more and nothing less than a spark of divinity. Call it God. You call it whatever you want. Call it a giraffe if you want. But the essence of that is unconditional love. That is you. If you are not that inside, then you are conditioned to believe something other than that. That's conditioning. There's the nightmares.
Then you're kind of... So if we can shapeshift one way and become a different shapeshifter in another way, we can also change cycles. We can change cycles to the other way. And the divine feminine is all about the death rebirth, right? And that is a cycle. So we can take a negative cycle, a toxic cycle, a programmed cycle.
Limiting cycle, yeah.
A limiting cycle, because that continues on repeat. It's a loop, it's a loop, it's a loop, right? Well, what about divine feminine energy? Looping it out, death, rebirth. Like that is what the divine feminine does, is it embodies, it feels the feels, it transmutes, and it is a different kind of cycle. So if we can shapeshift one way, we could change the cycle another way, right?
Yeah. And they're just pinging me to say, when we talk about the divine feminine, we're not talking about women. We're talking about both men and women and everything in between. Because it's let's call it energy. We have the divine masculine and we have the divine feminine. Both are essential to the existence of all that is. Women tend to, not always, but tend to be more in the feminine. Men tend to be in the more masculine, but that isn't always the case. They're black and white. But we all have both. We have become very masculinized. Is that the right word in our society? It's all about the doing, thinking. That's all great. But the overdoing and overthinking leaves behind the being. And at the end of the day, every person says, I just want to be happy. They don't say, I want to think happy. I want to be happy. So if you're not happy inside, try not to think too much why. Go inside of yourself. Go inside that feeling and ask the feeling to tell you what's missing. What's missing? One of the first things you'll likely get is you're not being true to yourself. Right back to square one. It's all your experience is all about you. You're here for you. Well, no. You're here for you. Others benefit, yeah. And the more you are in truth within you, the more people will benefit, because when you're in truth with you, what you're embodying is love. Everybody benefits from that. I'm sure, I know, Jenny, you have, but just for the sake of this conversation, have you ever walked in a room and somebody angry comes in and you're like, ooh, your energy affects your environment. My parents' energy affected my inner environment. Right? So if you're not embodying love, you're embodying something else. Doesn't mean you can be angry, doesn't mean you can be mad, doesn't mean you can be frustrated. You can have all those things, like different flavors, but at the end of the day, your natural state, your natural condition is one of total acceptance and love. Well, what about Hitler? I said the words.
We get it. We get it.
He had that spark within him too. Unfortunately, his ego took control because of his own upbringing. So he's got to do his thing in order to balance out that. But that's, that's for another. What do you mean? What do you mean? Hitler, God loves Hitler? Yeah, I'm sorry to disappoint you. Yeah. Remember, God has no conditions. For that to sit well with many people. It wouldn't have sat well with me in earlier days when I didn't understand it, when I didn't experience it. Yeah. It's hard to take. Sometimes. No, but anyway, that's a whole completely different conversation.
Such good points about how to integrate, how to embody, because again, we're not trained. Like we're trained to stay in the mind since, being in school. Maybe if you've ever gone to school, you were trained to be in your mind, right? And it doesn't just come from our school system. It comes from our parents, from our families, from our churches, from everywhere, right? So this is new learning. And this is what I mean by when I say 2025 equals 9. These planets are urging us to change the world as we know it. It's new era energy. We're all being asked to embody something new. And I love this conversation today. It went way over what we were expecting it to. For those of you that stuck around, listen till the end. We'd love to hear your comments on how you felt the flow and what pinged for you. Did you also have the disease to please? Have you also shape-shifted? Have you also changed cycles and transmuted? We want to hear it all. We'd love to hear your comments. And Joanna's tangents are always welcome in my books. I know that most of you would agree as well. So I'm loving the Joanna tangents on this one and just where this conversation went. We were not expecting this. And I absolutely love it. And I have to say, I have gotten to a point in my life where I can say on a public podcast, I have no friends, and it's funny. So if you've had the disease to please the way that I did, you cared a lot about fitting in and being nice because you thought spirituality meant being nice. If any of my stories resonated with you as well, let me know. And Joanna, I know you have a very special message from your guides to close this podcast. Please do take it away.
Self-betrayal is not spirituality.
Yes.
How do you know if you betray yourself? Oh, you know. If you tune in, you know. You'll know. You'll feel it. You may not like it. You may not want to confront it. You may go, oh, no. And then it's just, what do you want to do with it? It's just going to be there sitting for you, waiting for when you're ready. And I think the world is gently nudging us.
Not so gently, yes.
Even though we may not feel ready.
It's not very gentle.
Collective, we are ready. Yeah, it's not so gentle.
It's not gentle anymore.
It's
gentle. Believe it or not, like 5 years ago, you know what happened in the world, right? When that thing happened in the world, believe it or not, that was gentle.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not gentle anymore.
Yeah. And the thing about it is that it's not so much on the outside. Yes, things are happening on the outside. It's happening on the inside. There's something happening on the inside, and you're like, what the hell is going on? Why do I feel this? So you try to analyze what's wrong, when there's nothing wrong. Why do I feel this way? It's because something is bubbling within you. Something wants to just go.
It's you. I got news for you. It's you.
I just got chills. It's you desiring to emerge.
The real you.
Mm-hmm.
Let her shine. Let him shine.
Let him or her shine, or it, whatever you want to call it. It wants to emerge. Why? Because it wants to be free. Free of constraint, free of limiting stories, free of fear of abandonment, free of all that stuff. So we are being asked, and it's not a small thing by any stretch of the imagination. But if you're here listening to this, I'm going to remind you, and you're going to go, oh, You've signed up for this. We all signed up for this. Like it or not. I didn't say, I know, that's what I'm thinking. As a human, you would not have signed up for it. When you were signing up for it, so to speak, you were not in a human form. You had a much broader perspective and you saw everything so clearly, and you also knew you were going to forget that. Okay. So,
And then we remember.
and the remembering, the
And
waking
we
up
remember.
is like, ouch. Yeah. So it can feel very confusing when you begin to wake up. Have you ever had a dream when you woke up and you were momentarily confused because you didn't know which one was the dream and which one was the real?
Yeah.
And that's what it's feeling like.
Yeah.
It's going to be amplified more and more.
Yes.
Confusion. Yeah. So if you need some help with somebody,
Yeah.
Jenny or I, ask the universe to put someone in front of you to help you align with your specific frequency. That's all you have to do. And then just be open. Here's the key word. Be open.
Be open.
Be open. That's it. All right.
Beautiful podcast. Wow. I love this one, Joanna. Thank you.
Shall we?
Okay, everyone. Leave your comments, suggestions, feedback. We love it all.
Thank you so much. And we'll see you on our next podcast. Take care and have fun deciphering what's yours and what's not. Bye-bye.
Bye.